Public key infrastructure. In this video, I will explain public key infrastructure and how it relates to asymmetric encryption, e-commerce, public keys, encryption and decryption, and the importance of using two keys. Public key infrastructure is a framework that does not specify any technologies, but provides a foundation for confidentiality, integrity, and availability services. Information security, in other words. Let's talk about the CIA in information security. When we talk about the C, we talk about confidentiality, preventing the disclosure of information to unauthorized individuals or systems. I for integrity, maintaining and assuring the accuracy and consistency of systems data. A for availability, making sure that the computing systems, the security controls, and the communication channels are functioning correctly. Next, we have the public and private key pair. Public key infrastructure enables users of basically unsecure public networks, such as the internet, to securely and privately exchange data and money through the use of public and a private key pair that is obtained and shared through a trusted authority. We'll get into that. Public keys we use for encrypting. Encrypting, that is interpreting the secrets for the data that the sender wishes to send confidentially. Private key is the combination used by the receiver in order to take the encrypted data, decrypt it, and produce the original message. So now let's talk about the typical public key infrastructure environment. There's a couple of key elements that I would like to talk about, and first it would be the certificate authority right here. The certificate authority acts as the root of trust and provides services that authenticate the identity of individuals, computers, and other entities. Basically, it acts like the DMV. When you want to go get a license, you go to the DMV, you present several pieces of information, and the DMV gives you your license. So that's basically what the certificate authority does. So now we have the registration authority. The registration authority is also called a subordinate certificate authority. It's certified by a root certificate authority to issue certificates for specific uses permitted by the root. And we also have a certificate database that holds the certificates, which stores certificates, requests and issues, and revokes certificates. And then we have last the certificate store. The certificate store, it resides on a local computer as a place to store, issue certificates, and private keys. Now this technology, it manages the issue of binding public keys and identities across multiple platforms. So let's talk about public key infrastructure and what it consists of, what's in the environment. Public key infrastructure consists of hardware, software, policies, and standards to manage the creation, administration, distribution, and revocation of keys, and the digital certificates. What are digital certificates? Digital certificates are at the heart of public key infrastructure. They are the meat, as they confirm the identity of the certificates subject, and they bind that identity to the public key contained in their certificate. So let's look at this diagram here. Number 1 over here, where it says registration authority. The user registers for a digital certificate. And number 2 here, where it says user values, some method is used to determine a random value. And then the random value, it calculates an algorithm. And then on number 4 here, where the key store is at, the key pair is stored in a key store on the workstation. And if you go to number 5, where this key here, it's a copy of the public key and other identifying information. And it's sent to the certificate authority. Here we go right here. And number 6, the certificate authority generates a digital certificate containing the public key and the other identifying information. And the new certificate is then sent to the user. Asymmetric encryption. Well, let's talk about symmetric key encryption first, because that was born before asymmetric. So I want to give you a little information about symmetric key encryption. When you're dealing with symmetric key encryption, one has to share the key. Also, the symmetric key needs to be kept in a safe place and accessed only when required. California mathematicians Martin Hellman, Whitfield Diffie, and Ralph Merkle, they invented asymmetric encryption in 1975, which is commonly known as public key cryptography. It establishes a shared secret between two parties that can be used for secret communication, for exchanging data over a public network. Let's just say the symmetric key encryption, it needed an upgrade. Asymmetric encryption, you have a public key and a private key. So we will have a way to communicate secretly without having to share the key like we do in symmetric key encryption. It is asymmetric because those who encrypt messages or verify signatures cannot decrypt messages or create signatures. Public key infrastructure and e-commerce. It took several years and a lot of math to create an internet digital version of the padlock. When the transactions are done, public key infrastructure, cryptography, as I stated, it is the meat of e-commerce. The sender puts the message in a box. You know, when we're dealing with messages, the sender asks the person that will receive the message to buy a padlock and send it to her. So when the sender gets the padlock, she uses it to lock the box, then sends it off. So if someone tries to intercept the box, they won't be able to open it. In fact, even the sender cannot open the box when it's locked. The only person that can open the box is the intended recipient. The only person that has the code, plus you have something close to perfection in internet security. Encryption and decryption. When you have a public key and a private key, that's what's going to protect confidentiality. You can give everyone your public key, so whenever you want to send something secret to someone, encrypt it, and only they will have the private key to open it. It is used in the other direction. If I use my private key to encrypt something and send it along, everyone can open it with their public key. And here it just kind of shows you just the two-way. What can be decrypted on one end can be encrypted on the other, and what can be encrypted on one end can be decrypted on the other. Question: if only I have the private key, I encrypt something, send it somewhere, but everyone can decrypt it with their public key. Why would I want to do that? Because when you get something that's encrypted and my public key opens it, that proves that it came from me. Remember, what we want on public key infrastructure is CIA, confidentiality, integrity, and availability.